Perfect game for Roy Halladay.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Davis, joined today by my guys, Snap, Gint, and George. And on today's show, we have a special guest, Rob Maadi. Here he is. Rob, thank you so much for joining us, and how are you?
What's up, guys? I can't really hear you too well. How are you?
I'm good. Does it sound a little better now or no?
I can't hear.
Okay, hold on. Let me try to figure this out.
Tough way to start.
Yeah, let me try to figure this out. George, why don't you tell us?
Ask him if he's connected to Bluetooth on his car, maybe.
It's better.
It's better now? Awesome. There we go. Perfect. I was going to have George talk about the Phillies move yesterday to kill some time. But, all right, man, let's talk some Eagles for a second. So, you know, this fan base has become very divided very quickly this season over, you know, who should be the quarterback of the future going forward in 2021. Can you just talk a little bit about where you stand? You're very active on Twitter about this team. So just a little bit about your stance on the quarterback situation.
Well, it's a very difficult dilemma, guys, for the organization. I think right now they don't know who's going to be their quarterback of the future, but based on the contract that they gave Carson Wentz, unless they can find a way to move on from that and still absorb a significant cap hit, a historic cap hit, he's got to be the guy. You got to give Carson Wentz an opportunity to be the quarterback that you paid him to be, and we've seen a body of work over the first 4 years of his. I'm not going back to 2017. I'm just going back to last December. In last December, he basically put a practice squad group of guys on his back and carried them to the postseason. For a lot of reasons, things fell apart for him this year. For a lot of reasons, they're not solely his fault. He certainly takes a lot of the blame, but I think you got to look at the talent around him. You got to look at the offensive system. And based on that, the best thing I think for the organization moving forward is to try and find a way to fix Carson Wentz. That's a whole lot easier said than done.
Yeah, we all pretty much agree with that. But let me ask you this. If you put the money aspect aside and just went based off of, I don't want to say this year, just based off the two guys, which one would you start week 1 next year?
I haven't seen enough out of Jalen Hurts, right? Jalen Hurts has looked – it's been a mixed bag of success for him. He's looked good, and he's also struggled. He's looked good in the first half, and he's had some tough moments in the second half. But, again, it's not all his fault either because he's playing with the same offensive line that couldn't block for Carson Wentz. They can't protect Jalen Hurts. He's playing with the same receivers who struggle to get open for Carson Wentz. The same thing for Jalen Hurts. Now, he's shown you he could do more with his legs for sure, but at the same time, he's young, he's growing, he's learning. And then you just look at this Dallas game. They had 2 opportunities inside the red zone when it was still a close football game. He threw an interception and he fumbled. Questionable fumble. Now, again, it's, you know, the turnovers are going to happen when you're pressing, when you're trying to make things happen, when guys around you can't get the job done. So based on what I've seen out of Jalen Hurts, I think he's impressive. He's got potential, but he's got a long way to go.
Yeah, Rob, after a 4-10-1 season, obviously we need some change. We could use change everywhere, it seems. What changes do you expect, if any, for next season?
Man, I don't anticipate the big change that everybody wants to see. And that big change, of course, would be the general manager. I know there's a lot of people who don't want to see Doug Pederson back, but let's start with Howie Roseman. I put this stat out there the other day, guys, and it took like maybe a half of the Monday Night Football game for me to do this research. And I was just looking at every player who was drafted since 2014 or was signed as an undrafted free agent since 2014. And then there's 274 of those guys who've made the Pro Bowl, and only one of them was drafted or signed as an undrafted free agent by the Eagles, and that was Carson Wentz. Now, that talent or lack thereof in the draft, like, it's not hard to make a Pro Bowl, guys. It's not. Tyrod Taylor made a Pro Bowl in 2015. There's so many guys like before this year, because this year it's just one roster, but there were injury replacements, the guys who go to Super Bowl to play. So like that shouldn't be the be all end all is Pro Bowl. I always tell everybody it should be all pro, which the AP, we put that out first week of January. If you make the all pro roster, now you're the best bet. You make a Pro Bowl roster, like I said, Tyrod Taylor made one. Yet the Eagles have only had one guy that they drafted or signed as an undrafted free agent since 2014 to make that. That speaks volumes, and that explains why this team is a mess right now, and that's why they're about to be 4-11-1 or maybe 5-10-1, and it doesn't really matter other than for draft picks. That said, I don't think Howie's going anywhere. We've heard enough reports that say how comfortable Jeffrey Lurie is with Howie, and I think he is. And I think Howie's body of work, having won a Super Bowl 3 years ago, is going to buy him more time in Jeffrey Lurie's mind. I also don't think Doug Pederson's going anywhere. I spoke to him last week, and he told me he wants to be back. This week, he reiterated it in the media. He said he's confident. He sounds like a guy who's been told that he's going to be back. So I don't think he's going anywhere. The only thing I could foresee them doing, short of one of those two guys moving on, is trying to figure out an offensive coaching staff structure where there is an offensive coordinator, because there isn't one this year. And I didn't get a chance today to ask Doug this. I'll try on Friday, is how much of this offensive system and the structure, having so many voices, has that impacted the team? And I don't think that, Doug is a guy who's a great leader. And as a great leader, you're a good listener. So now he's listening to a lot of voices, right? He's trying to incorporate what Rich Scangarello talks about, what Marty Mortonweg talks about, what Press Taylor wants to do. So you got Andrew Bynum, you got all these guys, right? And there needs to be a defined structure. And I think maybe that will be the way they go. Short of that, this team's going to be in trouble going forward if they're still picking the same players the same way. Now, maybe John Dorsey's already getting paid. He's here as a consultant. Maybe Jeffrey Lurie says, hey, he's got to have more say, more authority into personnel matters. Will Howie be willing to give that up? I doubt it. Could Jeffrey Lurie force that on him? That could be a little bit of a hope for Eagles fans out there.
Before I get to my next question, I just want to go off of that for a second. You mentioned bringing in defined roles and bringing in a new OC. And you also mentioned Howie, does he want to give up that aspect of his general manager job? The way I've heard Doug talk about, play calling in his press conferences, do you think that's something that can happen? Like, do you think Doug would be willing and would be a willing listener to say, if Jeffrey Lurie comes to him, I'm bringing in an OC and you can still be my head coach, or you got to go? Is that something that you can see happening, or does Doug want that playbook?
Doug wants to be the play caller. He's talked a lot about that. He takes pride in doing it. And I think that's something that would have to be forced on him by Jeffrey Lurie. Like, hey, if you want to stick around, this is what's going to have to happen. That said, I think Doug takes too much heat for his play calling. We talk a lot of people after this game. Let's just take the Cowboys game, for example. And a lot of people were bent out of shape after the game, blowing Doug Pederson up for not running the ball enough. You weren't going to win the game and score 38 points running the football against Dallas. Miles Sanders was averaging 3.8 yards per carry. They had two times they went 3 and out in that game. And the 2 times they went 3 and out, they ran the ball 5 out of 6 plays. So when I hear people after that game say, oh, they should have run the ball, I go, you're not scoring 38 points. Now, there are other times, like when you're up 17-0 first week of the season against Washington, you run the ball. So that said, there's some opportunities where Doug's got to get better. He's got to be more committed to the run. But I think play calling, though, falls a lot of – there was no issues with his play calling in 17 when guys were executing. It comes down to execution. And when you don't have the talent to execute, your play calling isn't going to look as good. When you don't have DK Metcalf running out there and you got JJ Arcega-Whiteside running out there, or you don't have Justin Jefferson and you got Jalen Reagor, well, if the guys can't run the pattern the way it's supposed to be run, or make the play, or high point the ball the way they should, or run it as crisply, it's not going to happen no matter what it is. So, I think the issue is more talent, bringing in more NFL level quality talent, Pro Bowl caliber talent, and this team lacks it top to bottom.
So let me keep it with Doug for a second. I'm not around this team, so maybe I'm reading too much into it just through a television and the interviews that I listen to. But it seems as though there is a disconnect between Doug and Carson, at least this season in 2020. So is it possible that the Eagles can come back with both Doug and Carson as the starter next year and have success together? Like, is that relationship salvageable on the field?
Is it possible they can come back? I'm sorry, it was breaking up a little bit. Is it possible they can come back with Doug and Carson next year?
Carson as a starter and have success together, yes.
I think they can because they have, right? They have. It's been a while since they had the success they had in 17, but then I'll point back to the success they had in December of 19. So I think there's a way that they can come back together and have success, but there's got to be a more a structured offensive coaching staff, and I think there needs to be more an identity for this offense. This offense lacks identity. Are you committed to the run? Are you committed to what do you want to do? How do you want to run? How do you want to be an offensive football team? So I think they have to really prioritize, and Carson and Doug have to sit down and figure out, hey, what works best for Carson? And we know we've all criticized Doug for not rolling him out and not getting him out of the pocket, and he's keeping him dropping back with the 3-step drops into a collapsing pocket and all that stuff. They got to really put it together and figure out what's going to be best for this offense. So can they do it? Yeah. Is it likely? I don't think it's as likely with the current scenario. Something has to be tweaked. Something's got to change along the way.
Let me keep it with the offense because you brought up earlier how the receivers just aren't getting open. How do you see this receiving core improve? Do you spend another first-round pick on one? With the cap situation, I'm not sure where they could go other than that. So how do you see them improving?
It's a great question. I think you got to really look at it in the draft. But then when you spent a second-round pick last year, and that's a bust, and a first-round pick this year, I don't want to call Jalen Reagor a bust. The kid missed 6 games. I think he's got potential. I think next year is going to be a big year for him. So I'm not ready to go there, but we know that Justin Jefferson's already a star. So you kind of missed a little bit there. Are you willing to invest another top 10 pick on a receiver, or do you go cornerback or something like that? Because they got a lot of needs. How do the wide receivers get better? I don't know what you can do from the outside the organization. You're not going to go spend a lot of money on receivers. They spend money on aging receivers from Alshon to Deshaun, and that's backfired on them. You can't do that. So you got to develop these guys. I don't think you could change the wide receiver coach again. How many have they had under Doug Pederson? So they keep constantly rotating. You just need guys, maybe an off season together, because this year, obviously, they didn't have it. Something like that, have the off season together, maybe make that work. And some of these guys, hopefully, they can have some success.
Yeah, going back, touching on what you just said about wide receiver, cornerback in the draft, if you were Howie Roseman or whoever's going to be in charge this offseason, who are you taking at 6? Because they're projected at 6 right now, and there's a couple. The biggest 2 options is cornerback and wide receiver, with the possible chance of the kid Parsons sliding to 6, which I don't know if he really will because he's so talented. But where are you going? Who would you pick out of the options there?
Man, I think you need another weapon at wide receiver, but you hope that Jalen Reagor can develop. I really believe they need a corner too. I got to wait it out right now. And you know what I also would be willing and interested in doing, because this team's got so many needs. I'm not saying trade way out, but if you're at 5 or 6 and they're projected at 6 right now, and you could drop to maybe 9 or 10 and pick up extra picks, I'd be interested in doing that. And then maybe you just take whoever's best available, the corner or the wide receiver, at 8, 9, or 10. So I think the best thing that can happen this week is they move up as high as possible, so you could be in that scenario to where maybe you could trade down in the top 10, but not out of the top 10. But yeah, it's got to be receiver, cornerback. I lean a little bit towards corner and hope that Reagor can develop, because you don't have a young guy coming up at cornerback. You can't. There's no hope that somebody at corner is going to be that cornerback opposite Darius Slay. That, at wide receiver, at least there's some hope that Jalen Reagor can be a guy.
Yeah, so obviously the cap situation is not good right now. Are there any big names on the roster, possibly with bigger cap hits, that you could see being cut or traded this offseason?
I think there's a lot of names that could be potentially playing their last game as an Eagle this week. And you look at guys like Malik Jackson, you look at guys like Brandon Graham, you look at guys like maybe potentially Zach Ertz. Maybe you look at guys like Fletcher Cox. I don't know what his situation is going to be, too. They got to make a lot of difficult decisions in the offseason. And there's certainly going to be guys who are playing their last game as an Eagle, if they even play. Because I don't know if you saw the injury report today. That injury report was pretty huge, pretty substantial. And in the Eagles' best interest, it would be to hold out as many guys as possible. Because I know they want to knock Washington out, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. You want to move up and try and get into that top 5.
All right, one more question before we let you go, Rob. We've talked a lot about the offense, the quarterback, the head coach, all that. Defensively, Jim Schwartz takes a lot of heat from the fan base, and I know his defense leads in a lot of – where it's top in the league in some categories, but I feel as though the bad performances outweigh the really good performances by his defense. Does Jim Schwartz survive this offseason?
I think he does. But that's been one where you look at even a Super Bowl year. They won a Super Bowl. They gave up 500-plus yards. They didn't win the Super Bowl because of Jim Schwartz and his defense. But if Doug Pederson survives, so is Jim Schwartz, because what Doug likes to do is allow Jim Schwartz to be the head coach of the defense. Now, he can point to lack of talent there, right? He can point to, well, you guys don't really invest in linebackers for me. We've had a ton of injuries in the secondary. We spent a lot of money on the defensive line, and a lot of them go down or they're underperforming. That's not a Jim Schwartz problem. That's a talent acquisition issue. Again, so I think for that reason, Jim Schwartz will be allowed another opportunity to be the DC next year.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to come on and chat with us for a little bit about the Eagles. Great follow on Twitter, everyone. So go follow him on Twitter. Rob Maadi, thank you so much.
Appreciate it, guys. Sorry about the darkness. I'm hiding out in my car. We were just at the aquarium with the kids. So
you're all good. Thank you.
Don't worry about it.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
Take care.
Very interesting.
Nice bird talk.
Awesome stuff.
A lot different than our last guest, who kind of put the blame more on the coach, where he was completely adamant that the coach is not the issue, and it's more
complete opposite, because he also hurts a lot. So
yeah,
that was nice.
So what's the name? So if you guys are going to be tuning into the Daily Dose with myself and Ginn at 6:00,
nice plug.
Yeah, great plug there. That what he just said kind of goes against Ginn and I's New Year resolution wish list for the Philadelphia Eagles. I can imagine. So we have a comment here from Jake. Dylan and Matt are a part of my daily routine now. Thanks for watching.
What does that even mean?
I guess he tunes in every day again. Come on, don't be rude. All right, guys, but that is.
I can't believe he said. I kind of agree with him on the statement about the draft, because at this point, I'm not even really concerned with the Eagles next week. I kind of am praying they lose.
Yeah.
I want them to lose, and I think they're going to do everything in their power to lose. I'll be actually really mad at Jalen Hurts if he wins us this game next week, because one, it'll be more controversy, and two, we'll be lower in the draft. But I kind of agreed with what he was saying with cornerback, but it's just I get not spending the pick on another wide receiver that high, especially the first round. But I think Jamar Chase is just such a he performed better than Justin Jefferson last year at LSU. I think that kid is like a can't miss wide receiver. And especially if you're going to end up going Jalen Hurts. I think if you end up going with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback moving forward, the pick at 6 has to be Jamar Chase. Because
I think either way, I think Jamar Chase is the type of talent that can transform an offense when he first gets here. and you can't miss out on that again. You
And
can't.
it's
The only pick that should go ahead of Jamar Chase is if, God forbid, Micah Parsons is there at 6, which I doubt he will be, because I think he's
And I love him at linebacker out of Penn State. But I don't know if I take him over Jamar Chase. I don't.
I only do because the middle of the field is just the middle of the field, and just the linebacker situation that we've experienced all year is just so abysmal at this point. And that's a kid that you can really plug in there for years to come. And
I agree.
He's going to get it. But that's
we'll see.
That's the positives of being so high in the draft.
Yeah.
Every player has its upsides to that degree.
Let's wrap up the Eagles talk here because they depressed the shit out of me. So all I'm going to say is, Howie Roseman, if you are in charge of the draft, which you should not be, my friend, if you do not select any of who we just threw out there, whether it's Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, Micah Parsons, whether it's
Caleb Farley,
whether it's the corners, whether it's the 2 or 3 corners snap throughout to Rob Maadi, if you go a different position, if you go outside of any of those players, if you go wide receiver and you don't take the kids out of the SEC conference, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah, it's no more team kids here.
There's no – I feel like if we're that high, there is zero possibility that he fucks that up, right?
You watch your mouth.
It's like,
you watch your mouth.
Ryan
Howie Roseman's probably watching this and saying, hold my beer, pal, because I'll go fuck that pickup real quick.
Win-win-win. Parsons, Chase, Smith, take any of them you want.
Until he comes in and drafts another defensive lineman or offensive lineman.
Yeah, until he comes in with the 6th pick of the Philadelphia Eagles, they take Gregory Russo or however the hell you say his name from Miami.
I can't. If he messes this up, that's why Rob brought up John Dorsey. If Howie is here, Howie strictly needs to be a numbers guy, and John Dorsey needs to be in charge of the draft.
I don't even want him to be a numbers guy.
Neither do I. Because my question, guys, is where the hell did that name come from for Howie Roseman? He's built the oldest, second most expensive roster in the National Football League. We're in cap hell. We're like over $60 or $70 million over the cap next season. And this is the roster we have.
He didn't take the play out of the guy that we beat in the Super Bowl, and that's Bill Belichick. I get there's this unwritten code that you want to reward guys for their work, especially when they win. But listen, you got to think analytically here. When it comes to older receivers, older players, even if they win, are they going to win it for you in 5 years? That should be the mentality if there's an extension.
First of all, and that's the part that pisses me off, because I'm not as big of a Malcolm Jenkins guy as some people are. Snap, I know you're a huge Malcolm Jenkins guy.
Favorite Eagle.
I'm not that guy. However, if you're gonna reward guys with contracts they shouldn't get, or however you want to call it,
give them to the guys that deserve it.
Yeah, how do you give it to Alshon Jeffrey and everyone? Do you understand this? Really, let me throw this number at you. If the Eagles wanted to part ways with Jake Elliott right now and cut Jake Elliott, guess how much money they would owe Jake Elliott?
I don't even want to know.
$8 million to the kicker.
But they wouldn't pay Malcolm Jenkins, who
he made a 61-yarder in 2017. So
yeah, it did happen.
I'm done talking about this team for the rest of the day. This is who we're talking about now. Snap and Gint's happy time. That's what we're doing. Gint, you got a Sixers shirt on today, or are you rocking with these two or no? No.
Ooh.
It's a Redskin shirt.
All right, guys, so let's get into
the seriousness in the way he said it's a Redskin shirt.
All right, let's get into the start of the Philadelphia 76ers season. They are 3-1 after the first 4 games. Joel Embiid has been as dominant as he could be in the 3 games that he's played. Tobias Harris, after struggling mightily in the first game of the season against the Washington Wizards, has improved every game and was huge.
Max player
was huge in last night's win against the Raptors. Seth Curry has been huge the last 2 or 3 games. Well, I mean the Knicks game and against Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So again, let me throw this to you first. Just after 4 games, how are you feeling about the Sixers team? Because one thing I said pre-show is, everyone, especially on Twitter and Snap's getting there a little bit because everyone's getting, a little fed up with the offense. And Ben, my rebuttal is, look, if you expected Ben to come out shooting right in the first 4 games, I wasn't expecting that whatsoever. but B, we all expected wrinkles and struggles early in the year with this new team and this new system. We've said it for every show leading up to the regular season. So 4 years, I think everyone just needs to relax a bit. They're 3-1 guys after 4 games, and just enjoy a big win, and just, let's see if they can iron out the wrinkles. So again, how impressed or unimpressed are you with the Sixers through the first 4 games?
I don't want to say I'm impressed, but the fact that we're 3-1 is awesome because we have shot the ball absolutely abysmal, and we haven't looked great. But I mean, being 3-1 at this point is a very, very, very good sign, and there should be not a panic in the world. Last year and every year before this, you're 1-3, and that's not obviously that's an improvement, which is everything you need at this point of the season is just to improve. Guys are going to start to hit shots. You don't sign guys that shoot 40% for their career and then they just magically don't start making shots. This isn't Markelle Fultz. This isn't the bums that we've had in the past. These are actual shooters that have proved it in the NBA for years. So I'm not impressed, but I'm not unimpressed. And by any means, if you didn't see struggles coming with 5 new rotation players, a whole new staff, 2 preseason games, and a very limited training camp, you're kidding yourself. So I'm in like the middle of those two.
Snap.
With the impressed or unimpressed, I'm in the middle. I'm not impressed with this team. I expect as kind of messed up. Did I expect wrinkles? Yes. Because I was a little critical before the show. We were talking, but the reason I am not impressed is because this is what I expected from this team. I expected this team to be 3-1 or 4-0. I never expected them to be 2-2 out the gate, looking at the teams on the schedule. And, the Cavs game was obviously they lost because, you're going against a very good rebounding team with no superstar center. So shocker. But I'm unimpressed because even though the Sixers had 2 grinded out win games that we really enjoyed watching, that we can all agree that they don't win under Brett Brown, it's the same things that are lingering in my mind that if they don't change soon, it's going to be the same thing that it has been the last couple of years. And that is Ben not taking a bigger offensive role. I love everything Ben does on the court. I really do. But he has chances to shoot that mid-range at the elbow coming off that curl off the screens. I want him to do it more. He did it for his first shot of the season. I was expecting that to be a play. Maybe they ran more often. And then the other thing is how can, even though Tobias Harris had a great game last night, is that going to be him 4 out of 6 games moving forward? Is that going to be more common or less common? Because if it's less common or like prior seasons, there's nothing this team's going to do that we haven't seen in the last couple of years. And I know it's early. And I know it's early, and something that might help the fan base, including me, get more on the side that this team is better than the last couple of years is if when they get a competition with a contender, I think they have the Nets next week. I want to see how they play the Nets. I will not be satisfied until I see them go against a team we know is a contender right now and how they fare against them, even though it's early in the season, because I need to see and gauge where this team is at. And Washington, Cleveland, Orlando tomorrow, the Raptors with no Ibaka and Marc Gasol, I can't gauge them yet. I expected them to beat the Raptors last night. When they weren't beating the Raptors, I was very mad. And I said some things on Twitter that I still don't take back. The more I watch Ben not shoot the ball or not participate in the offense or score the ball more, the more it's like, well, do you want to trade offense for defense? What do you want to do moving forward? Because if you want more offense from this team, you want the Ben Simmons for James Harden thing becomes more and more tempting. I'm not saying I would do it right now immediately because it's so early in the season. I'm not ready to pull trig right there, but I can't lie to myself and feel like sometimes watching Ben Simmons not take more role in the offense, scoring the ball, that I don't think about it. Because, yeah, he locks down players, but if James Harden's on this team in the role of Ben Simmons and he's scoring 35, I mean, you don't even need the defense because Ben Simmons puts out 11 points last night. James Harden's here putting up 33. The defense is okay because you're getting 20 more points of offense, and you can include the assist Ben gave you. He gave you 7 last night. James Harden does that every night. So that's where I'm at with this team. I'm not impressed. I'm not unimpressed, but I really want to see this team against a contender.
I'll say the only – go ahead again.
I just don't get the point of how you expected the Sixers to be winning last night. Toronto has been a top 5 defensive team in the NBA for the last 3 seasons. Nick Nurse has done nothing but given Joel Embiid a lot of problems, and they've brought back the same exact core that they've had for 4 years. Besides, they lost Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka and added Aaron Baines.
But that's why I didn't expect them to be the same way defensively on Joel Embiid, because every year we've watched them give Joel Embiid problems. It's because
their problems were one-on-one. Their problems were –
I know they always double team him. They always put him in high pressure situations. But you're switching out Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka for Aaron Baines.
And Aaron Baines has only given Joel Embiid problems in his career too.
Yeah, but he's getting older, Embiid's getting better. These aren't the same problems. And again, it's Aaron Baines compared to Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. It's just a different world. Like, I expected them to be good against that team. Like, everyone this year, when you hear them talking about the Eastern Conference, no one's talking about the Toronto Raptors being a huge problem or a contender like they have in the past, or making noise like they have in the past. Everyone understands that the Toronto Raptors might end up in the bottom part of the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference.
Here's where I stand on the whole Harden Ben thing. I'm not ready to do it yet. I said it again multiple times. I'm not doing it yet. The question is, do you want the offense like Snap said, or the defense? Because when it comes down to it, well, we asked the question: who's going to guard Giannis? Who's going to guard KD?
And that's why I'm not ready.
But the issue I have is no one's stopping KD. Ben's your best option at slowing him down, but no one's stopping KD from getting his. So how do you answer great offense? Opposing offense, great offense. So it's tough. But the thing that why I'm not ready to do it yet is because although Ben's not coming around that screen and that curl and pulling up from the elbow or shooting from the corner 3 like we want him to, I had no problem with his aggressiveness last night. He shot like shit from the field, just like everyone else did for most of the night. If a couple of those buckets drop, he's closer to the 20-point mark, right where I want him. If Ben Simmons giving you 20 points a night, then he's right where I want him to be. He's averaged 16 points a year. If 2 more buckets is what I need. He's not afraid of the contact or getting to the line now, especially late in the game. So his free throw attempted rate is way up this season so far. So we'll see. I hate that it's going to be a topic all year. I don't want to continue doing it. But George, how do you feel after 4 games?
Not impressed, but I don't think anybody's impressed. I mean, for a team that went out and signed shooters, and we finally have shooters, we're not shooting the ball very well at all. But then again, we're 4 games in, and we could easily be 2-2. I know you're smirking, Dylan. You saw that comment?
I've been laughing at that one for like 5 minutes.
You can't compare Matisse's defense to Ben Simmons' defense. Like, that's just
or any other aspect of Matisse Thybulle's game to Ben Simmons' game.
Matisse is out there getting cardio right now.
Nadir, you're one bad comment away on any show from me revoking your basketball card because your takes get worse and worse every day.
I'll say we could easily be 2-2 right now. Last season, we do not win that game last night. We don't even come close to it.
Okay, so I don't want to cut you off. This is going right back to you, George, and then we can roundtable it. I was asked this last night, and I can't put my finger on it. So this team, to Snap's point, it doesn't look like when I watch this team, they don't look different really, right? No. So, but we've all said they don't win that game in 2019. They don't win the Wizards game in 2019. So something's different, but I can't find it right now.
Go ahead, George. I'm ready to go, so hurry up. Jesus Christ.
Better coaching staff and guys that perform better. Like, this roster is better. It's better than last year. It is. Last season, it doesn't matter. It's weird, though. We don't win that game last season. We don't even come close. We probably lose by double digits.
You know what? I think it's Doc. You mentioned the coaching staff, and that made me think. I think it's Doc's way of keeping them in the game and making adjustments. Like, shots were not falling. We shot as poorly as you could in the first half.
Bad last night.
And Doc, they didn't get discouraged, And defensively, they kept themselves in the game, and then they were able to start making shots and ended up shooting better than Toronto did by the end of the game. So I think that's one thing you can look at is like, okay, they're staying in the game even when they're down 10, 12, 14 points because their defense is able to keep them in the game.
Yeah, very good defensive team. Holding the Raptors under 100 last night didn't seem like it was going to happen, and they really came back. I love the way Tobias played last night. He played like a max player, but are we going to get that every night? Probably not. So there's a lot of issues that you got to work on. Ben Simmons it was like 7:30 left in the fourth quarter, and him having a wide open elbow jumper, and he just won't shoot it. It's like, I'm not expecting him to go out there and pull up, but once in a while.
For what? Just for him to miss? I don't understand this. Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, John Wood had a great comment, and he's one of the best basketball coaches ever. Why would I draw up a play for a guy that isn't going to make a shot? He said it best. You draw up your plays for your best shooters. Let's go through the numbers last night. Joel Embiid, 1 of 6 from 3. Better shooter than Ben Simmons. Tobias Harris, 2 of 5. Good night. Seth Curry, 3 of 6. Danny Green, 1 of 4. Shake Milton, 1 of 6. Mike Scott, 0 of 2. Tyrese Maxey, 0 of 2. We're giving shots to the guys we're paying to take shots, and they are missing them. What is Ben Simmons launching up threes going to do for this fan base? I don't understand. Ben Simmons last night guarded Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam for 30 possessions. These stats are from Brock. Shout out, Brock. Great follow on Twitter. They shot 23% from the field.
And OG Anunoby was 0 for 3 against Ben.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, he sucks. But I just don't understand this. I don't we would have lost last night by 15 to 20 points with James Harden on this roster. And there's no shot we wouldn't have. When Ben Simmons wasn't on the floor, Pascal Siakam was just the definition of open. I just don't. And then I have Nadir. It's going to lose my mind. Dude.
First of all, Nadir, thank you, Dives. Nadir, you don't watch the game. And let me pull this up. Career-wise, he has been poor from the line, okay? He looks so much better from the line through the first 4 games this season. He's not afraid to get to the line like he has been in the past. Nadir, you guys don't watch the game.
Dude,
you don't.
Just go ahead, George. Sorry.
No, yeah. Nadir, I'm sorry. I don't want to call you out, but like he's the typical.
No, he needs to be called out, okay?
He's a typical like Twitter troll that hits the panic button every time he sees Ben Simmons do something bad. Like some fans on Twitter want to get Ben Simmons out of here as fast as possible, and that's just ridiculous. Like that's absolutely ridiculous. It makes 0 sense. Yeah, no snap. No, I'm not calling you out.
I know.
Nadir, calm down, man. We're 4 games in. We're 3-1.
They're 3-1. They're 3-1 with a brand new coaching staff. So many more pieces on the roster, and they've looked like shit.
They're
3-1.
We're 3-1. We're 4 games. There's time to develop.
I think he knows what he's doing. He has to know what he's doing.
He's doing it on purpose. He's doing it on purpose. He has to.
After that comment,
this guy threw that name in, just put me over the top. He's doing it.
No, but maybe this is where he gets his basketball knowledge from because he listens to Spike Eskin.
That's a bad place to start, man.
Thank you for the view. Thank you for tuning in.
Nadir, because Nadir, we love
you, Nadir.
Nadir, we love having
you. Get it from Spike.
We love having you here. But come on, man. I think you're doing it on purpose now. But this is getting bad. And then pull up the other comment about regular season stats or championships. We're not out shooting any. We're not the Golden State Warriors on their run. We're not just going to outshoot people. We need to have a lockdown defender. Look at the Eastern Conference wings. There's a million of them that are going to average 20 points a game. And if we trade Ben Simmons for James Harden, what are we wheeling Danny Green on Kevin Durant? Like this ain't happening. We have to.
All I want to say is this: everyone overreacts to Ben not shooting or not scoring because he's treated as one of the 2 stars and corner pieces to this team. But that's fine. But you have to hold everyone else responsible on the roster, no matter what their contract is. To Gid's point, and I said it last night watching that game: hit an open shot,
dude.
If they hit
shot 8 of 31 from 3.
Yeah, hit an open shot. The guys that are supposed to make those shots, Danny Green, Seth Curry, Shake Milton, everyone's favorite son before
Lou
the season
Williams.
started.
Lou Williams, part 2.
Come on. Hold
Too.
those guys accountable too when they're not, because if they make those shots, the Sixers beat the Raptors by 20.
We just won a game. Not solely, but Ben Simmons guarded the other best player in the fourth quarter, put him in a shackle. We won, and the comments are Ben, trade Ben.
Ben 3 for 11. Ben 3 for 11. I saw that on Twitter all night.
Dude, Danny Green has looked so bad from beyond the arc.
Yeah, he does. But Danny Green, he hit it when he needed to, didn't he, brother?
Don't get me wrong. Man, we just held a team under 100 points, and it's trade.
Again,
A team under 100 points.
I just want to make it clear that I am not on the trade.
No,
I'm just trying to defend. Not that I'm defending myself, but just to reiterate, I'm giving the perspective of why these people are acting this way. Because I think that's all we want from Ben. We just need a little more offense. That's all I want.
That's my point.
I'm not going to trade him for James Harden just right now. We were getting killed by Toronto.
If he finishes around the rim more last night, like he needs to, that cannot
that game is way out of. We win that game by a bigger margin. That's what we want. I hate that fucking weird fucking floater he does instead of just fucking getting a good form.
Yeah. All right.
So he had a little fadeaway instead of this fucking weird floater.
Nadir says about one of my co-hosts, listen to Mike Small from the Spitball podcast. Good.
Get Marquise's comment on the screen. Buddy Hield's contract is
God.
Bad. The Buddy Hield train is gone. Al Horford was the only way Buddy Hield was coming in. Buddy Hield's contract is so abysmal. I understand Buddy Hield.
The only reason we talked about possibly bringing him in here because we thought that was the only way to get Al Horford out of here. No one really wanted to do that. It was just the best option in a bad situation.
All right, hold on. Let me. I got two more things I want to say because you mentioned Seth Curry in here. Hold on. I'm not even going to read his comments yet. But I just want to snap. I agree with you, like what you said earlier, and I said it again before the show. I think, is Tobias as bad as he was against the Wizards? No. Is he going to give you what he gave you last night for a majority of the game season? No, I think he's somewhere in between, which isn't good enough. But my thing is, when everyone wanted to like burn the dude's house down on opening night because he was awful.
That's too far.
I didn't say it.
I know. I'm just agreeing with you. Like that's not.
Oh! I thought you meant like.
I would prefer someone else besides Tobias. Don't get for 180 million. I would
keep that same energy when he performs well, like he has ever since. Seth Curry, I want to bring him up, right? Because he's provided offense. He hit that big three last night. He was 3 of 6 from 3. And he's provided some offense outside Joel Embiid. My question is, hold on again, I didn't read these yet.
How do I mute comment? Can I like minimize this and get it off my screen?
Just go to private chat.
Would you
let you react as they come up? I feel like you're gonna have a stroke.
Would you like me to put them in timeout? I can put them in timeout.
No, it's not that deep.
But my thing with Seth Curry is, his over his career, he's been a role player off the bench. He's averaged 19, 20, like 22 minutes a game throughout his career, just about. Some seasons a little more. I guess my question is less, more. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Out of Seth Curry, like less minute. He played like 33 minutes last night.
Less is more.
I think less minutes for Danny Green. Yeah. Less minutes for Danny Green.
Danny Green's only getting like 17 right now.
Though. Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, but it needs to. I feel like it should be less because I read somewhere earlier that the offensive rating is even higher when you plug in Shake for Danny Green in those minutes. Even though Shake Millen hasn't been what we thought he would be, but I think it would be an impossible play to put him in the starting lineup eventually. But
do you want me to bring up Nigel's comment now? Is that the one you were freaking out about?
Where is it? Yeah,
dude. I live in LA and seen Doc with the Clippers. He was wasted talented teams from CP3 and recently Kawhi. Dude. He's overrated.
If you
those teams were terrible locker rooms.
What happened to that right away? Fourth quarter, PG and Kawhi combined for one made shot. That's not really Doc's fault.
If you go down the career of the Lob City teams, that was the most overrated era I've ever seen in my entire life, ever. Bro,
they were highlight reel hyped up on social media.
Dude, Oklahoma City was so much – the first year Doc was there, I'm pretty sure was around like when Oklahoma City had Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and James Harden. And then I'm done with this, actually. I don't even know why I just started. Keep it coming. This is so dumb.
Let's say this. We're having a lot of yelling at the comments right now. The comments section.
Why don't we talk about it?
Hold on. The comment section people, we're 3-1. All right? We're playing good defense. The shooting will come around. It's going to come around. We're not going to shoot like that every single game. It's not going to happen. We signed shooters for a reason. Things are going to be okay. All right? Everyone breathe.
I know. Let's just trade it for all shooters. No defense.
Yeah, no, we don't need defense.
Let's trade Embiid for DeMontis Sabonis.
No, you're
for James Harden.
Listen, Danny Green is going to go on KD, so we're fine. We're chilling.
It's all of a sudden the NBA is if you can make the most threes, you win, and the other side of the court, preventing them from making them doesn't matter.
Even though with the team made the most amount of threes a couple of years ago to win the chip, they had a very good defensive player on their team.
We should start a religion, Benism.
We just appreciate good.
I be the Benism religion. I love Ben Simmons' game. I just want him to get better as a player.
Nadir,
I don't understand.
Hold on, let me ask a question.
Ben Simmons out of town.
Let me ask him a question. Nadir, don't you like Furkan Korkmaz? You like Furkan Korkmaz, and every episode he gets on here and trashes Ben Simmons. Stop trying to run our young superstars out of town too early. Every team in the city, half the fan base tries to do it, and I'm so over it. I'm over it.
All right, how about we talk about this, guys? Joel Embiid said he wants to get back to his 2019 year when he averaged 27.5 points a game. And looking at his numbers right now, he's very much doing that. Do you think Joel has a possible shot at MVP this year?
MVP? I mean,
what does that mean? The Lakers' best player doesn't shoot. Yo, I'm going to lose my mind.
Snap, what was your
my question is, if you look at the numbers from Joel Embiid 2 years ago during the Jimmy Butler team, when he had his best year as a Philadelphia 76er and for his career, he was averaging about 27, 10-plus rebounds, a steal, block, high numbers at the free throw line and in the field goal percentage. And right now, if you're looking at his numbers for the 2020-21 season, he's actually doing that again and even better. Do you think if he keeps it up, especially when you see him like when he misses a game with the Cavs, I think games like that will help this case. Yeah. Do you think he's going to possibly be a front runner for the MVP trophy this year?
If he puts up those numbers, he'll be in the competition. The only thing is, I don't know in this day and age of basketball if a center is going to win. But like to your point, Snap, if he's clearly the most valuable player on our team and we're a 50-plus win team or something like that this season, and he's dropping 30 and 13 on average, it's kind of hard.
I think it would help his case if you don't have a guy like Jimmy Butler on this team too. Yeah. Because if you don't have another superstar that's a scorer like a Jimmy Butler, and Tobias is, Tobias, and Ben never scores, but he still plays spectacular defense, it kind of helps that attention because people like to see offense in their MVP. So it's just a fact.
Here's how I want to wrap up the show because we do have to end it now. If Joel Embiid is in the MVP conversation, which he very well could be if he continues to stay healthy and play like this throughout the year. If Ben Simmons is in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, which he will be, and in my opinion will win, and this team wins around 50 games, and the shooter, Seth Curry, Danny Green, what they're paid to do, hit shots, will you guys shut the hell up?
No.
You'll have an MVP finalist, you'll have a Defensive Player of the Year finalist, and guys hitting shots like they're paid to do.
Defense isn't important, just shoot threes. Thank you.
Yeah. What success has he had?
But the only knock is he's consistently good and he's running to Golden State a lot. But dude,
his ball hamstring stopped him from one.
Can you imagine if Joel Embiid turns into Clint Capella? Like that would be the biggest. That would be
right. One last thing about the Harden thing because I can't stand talking about it, especially when we're freaking winning. Okay, but
I almost wish he didn't say he wants to come here.
Yeah. So my thing is, I think Embiid and Harden would have the chance to be one of it would just be fun to watch. If it works, We've never seen Harden play with a center like Joel Embiid.
Dominant big man like Joel.
We've never seen that. So how do you know
We would be the most hated team in the league.
It would be better if he just shoots threes.
Let me ask you guys a question. I think it's a pretty easy answer. Within the next 5 years, James Harden on the Sixers or Ben Simmons on the Sixers, who is giving you more positive production for the team?
Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons.
Because you possibly wouldn't even have James Harden here for more than 2 years, and he's already 30.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a question. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't
know. Well, I just grown 3 more gray hairs out of the top of my head from this comment section. So for myself, for Gint, for Snap, for George, come hang out with us with me and Gint on the Daily Dose starting at 6 p.m. live here on the Painted Lines YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook channels. Call in if you want. George, if you want to hop on and talk about the Phillies pitching, the bullpen piece they required yesterday in a 3-team deal, let us know.
Call in, bum.
I'll be on. 6 o'clock.
Maaddi, why don't you call in?
Send me the link.
Maaddi calls in. I'm jumping on too.
He won't. I'm calling him out right now. He won't. Thanks, guys.